Hello everyone. Now as you know, Michael Jordan fans are the worst sports fans of all time. And one of the many reasons why is because these people really believe that every other NBA star who won had a super team and Michael Jordan never had a super team. Now, before I get into this, I want you to know that I made a separate video about how Michael Jordan fans are always saying that Michael Jordan had no help. So if you haven't played that video, you may want to play that video before you play this video. So let's get into this. I am going to explain to you why it is ridiculous when Michael Jordan fans act like every other NBA star who won had a super team and Michael Jordan never had a super team. Here are the reasons why in no particular order. First, they are disrespecting all of the other NBA people. Next, they are dismissing all of the other NBA people. Next, when they claim to respect the game and then they disrespect the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, when they claim to love the game and then they dismiss the game, they are contradicting themselves. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a history of always trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, understand why Michael Jordan fans are saying this. It's because they're just trying to find a way to make Michael Jordan the number one NBA player of all time. So that right there shows you that they're not reliable. Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played with don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the players that Michael Jordan played against don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of the owners, general managers, coaches, and other NBA people that Michael Jordan played for don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that lots of NBA Hall of Famers, lots of NBA legends, lots of NBA scouts, and lots of NBA experts don't agree with them? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that Michael Jordan doesn't agree with them? Next, since lots of these people don't agree with them, why do Michael Jordan fans sometimes reference one or more of these people for one or more topics? Next, how do Michael Jordan fans explain that usually the only people who think this are Michael Jordan fans? Next, if this was the other way around and they were an NBA Hall of Famer or some other NBA person and they found out that there was a younger NBA fan who wasn't there when they played, who doesn't have that much tape of them, who isn't an expert on the past NBA and so on, and they found out that this younger NBA fan said this thing, they wouldn't agree with that fan. Next, if some non-Michael Jordan fan said this thing and it went against Michael Jordan, the Michael Jordan fans wouldn't agree with that non-Michael Jordan fan. Next, Michael Jordan fans have a contradiction. They always ask people who disagree with them if they were there when Michael Jordan played, if they went to his games, if they saw his games live on TV, and so on. And yet, they don't ask themselves these same type of questions when it comes to lots of other NBA Hall of Famers. If they did, they would know that it would go against them, and they wouldn't come to this kind of conclusion. Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other NBA players? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other players who played other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this kind of thing for some other people and some other things when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 2 NBA player of all time and the number 3 NBA player of all time and the number 4 NBA player of all time and so on? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to who they rank as the number 1 player and the number 2 player and the number 3 player and so on when it comes to other sports? Next, how come Michael Jordan fans don't say this when it comes to the number 1 person or the number 1 thing or the number 2 person or the number 2 thing or the number 3 person or the number 3 thing and so on when it comes to other things outside of sports? Next, Michael Jordan fans are putting other NBA stars in a lose-lose situation. If they don't have a super team, they will dismiss it. If they have a super team, they will hold it against them. Next, Michael Jordan fans are putting players in a lose-lose situation. If they lose, they can say they suck because they lost. If they win, they can say, well, they won because the players had a super team. Next, a player can dominate this game, be above average, be average, or anything else whether they have a super team or not. Next, I want you to think about something logical. Is it logical to assume that every other NBA star who won had a super team? Next, I want you to think about something logical. Is it logical to assume that Michael Jordan never had a super team? Next, if they want to act like so many stars have super teams, then shouldn't they admit that maybe it's a normal thing for lots of teams to have super teams? So if it's normal, then what is the point in acting like it's a negative thing that some stars have super teams? Next, it doesn't make sense to act like a star has a super team since the star does not have the same exact team every year. Next, even if the star had the same exact team every year, the players are not the same every year. The players get older, they get injured, they get less minutes, and there are more examples, but you get the point. So it doesn't make sense to just act like the star had the same super team. Next, even if a star has a super team, what about coaching? They don't even consider coaching. What if a star has a super team and then they don't have the same coach? What if they have a new coach that is not as good? What if they have the same coach but the team is not the same super team? Or what if they have a super team and they have the same coach, but the coach did not do as good of a job as he usually does? Next, even if a star has a super team, what if they did not play as well as another team? What if there was another team that matched up against them well? Next, even if a star has a super team, sometimes there are players who make everyone better, so they may have a super team because a star made everyone better. Next, some of the teams that Michael Jordan fans label as a super team may not actually be a super team. Next, when they try to prove to you that some star has a super team, sometimes they start to list names, as if that proves that is a super team. Some of them don't even know that many things about the players, but they know the players' names, and so they start to list them. And then, of course, they don't do the same type of thing for Michael Jordan. Next, don't Michael Jordan fans always tell people that winning is the most important thing? How statistics don't matter as much as winning? How stat padding does not matter as much as winning? How analytics do not matter as much as winning? So now they are contradicting themselves when they do not count winning. Next, if Michael Jordan fans do not like super teams, why don't they blame the NBA? Why don't they blame the owner who approved it? Why don't they blame the general manager who helped put it together? Why don't they blame the coach that wanted it? Why don't they blame the scout that helped them decide which player is good to have on the team? Why don't they blame the agent? Why don't they blame the player who signed with them? Next. And if a team traded for another star, why don't Michael Jordan fans blame the owner of the other team? Why don't they blame the general manager of the other team? Next. And if the other player wanted the trade to happen, why don't they blame the player's agent? Why don't they blame the player? Again, some will claim that they do blame the player, but they do not blame every player. Next. And why don't they blame the media for loving all the super teams? Oh, sure, they will claim that lots of the media criticizes it, and that is true. But lots of the media still loves it, and they love the excitement, and they love the news, and they love the NBA. Next. And why don't Michael Jordan fans blame the NBA fans for still loving the NBA? Next. If Michael Jordan fans do not like super teams, why are they fans of the NBA? They are contradicting themselves. Next. Why are they fans of any team sport? They are contradicting themselves. Next. Lots of Michael Jordan fans would be happy if their team had a super team, so they are contradicting themselves. Next. Lots of Michael Jordan fans are happy when their team has a super team, so they are contradicting themselves. Next. Lots of Michael Jordan fans who were around in the 1980s and 1990s were not calling out other teams for having a super team. Next. And they were not calling out the Chicago Bulls for having a super team. Next. Lots of players are on a super team because that's a team that they have. So if a super team is bad, how is that the player's fault? Next. If a team has a super team, what is a player supposed to do? Is he supposed to leave? Is he supposed to tell the good players to leave? Is he supposed to tell the team that he won't play if there are good players? Is he supposed to let everyone know that they should not do too much? Next. What if a player complained about having a super team? What if a player complained to the owner? What if a player complained to the players on his team? What if a player did not participate because the team is a super team? You know what the Michael Jordan fans would do? They would hold it against him. They would say winning is the most important thing, and that player does not want to win. They would say that player is not a good leader, and they would say that player is not a good team player. Next. When they claim someone has a super team, they are just making things up. They are making up a term and then acting like a super team is a bad thing. Next. If someone does not have a super team, how are Michael Jordan fans expecting that person to win? They usually explain just common sense things like a player needs to score, or rebound or pass, and there are more examples, but you get the point. But they never show how one player can win with a team that is not good. Next. Most of the time when someone wants to win, they need a super team. Next. Most of the time when someone does win, they have a super team. Next. Lots of players who did not have a super team won. Next. Lots of players who had super teams lost. Next. Michael Jordan had a super team. Next. Michael Jordan had more than one super team. Next. Michael Jordan had a super team when he lost. Next. Michael Jordan had more than one super team when he lost. Next. Michael Jordan had a super team when he won. Next. Michael Jordan had more than one super team when he won. Next. There is no fact that proves what counts as a super team. Next. There is no fact to prove that Michael Jordan never had a super team. Next. There is no fact to prove that everyone who won had a super team. Hey, please subscribe, and if you disagree with me on something, you can go on my program and show me your facts on whatever you disagree on. If you want to go on, let's set it up. Send me an email. The email is right there in the description section. Thank you.